Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game Istanbul, the dice game. This was sent to me by AEG, and this is signed by Rudiger Dorn. Welcome to the Bazaar of Istanbul. Are you ready for a trade competition? If so, you'll need to acquire the coveted rubies faster than your competitors. You're not alone. Your assistants will collect goods and money for you. Use your income wisely to invest in improved abilities or save for purchasing rubies. With a little bit of luck and the right strategy, you will be victorious and become the master of the trade guild. Let me show you how to play. Alright, in this game, you are a trader in the bazaar and you're trying to get 6 rubies, or in a 4-player game, 5 rubies. And it's a race to do so. You will need money and goods to purchase rubies, and for those you must depend on your assistants, which are these dice here. The 6 icons represent different things they can procure for you, and each turn you'll send out your assistants by rolling them. With those icons you roll, and your goods markers that you get, which I'll show you in a second, you can then carry out 2 actions such as collecting and storing resources, or acquiring bazaar cards or mosque tiles to get additional benefits. So the first thing you do on your turn is you check to see if you have any income from your mosque tiles. If you look over here, these are mosque tiles that you can purchase, and some of them will give you little recurring bonuses at the start of your turn. Like this card, or this tile here, will let you draw a bazaar card at the start of every turn. This one will give you a crystal at the start of each turn. They all do different things. But for to start, we don't have any, so we get nothing. Then you roll 5 dice. Now, if you have a mosque tile that lets you do more, you can roll more. But for now, we have these 5. Then it's time to carry out actions. Normally you can carry out only 2 at a time, although some tiles, like this mosque tile, will let you do more actions. But out of default, it's 2 actions per turn. And this handy guide here tells you all the different actions you can do. So let's kind of go through these. If I have 2 of the same color, then I can take 1 goods marker of that same color. In this case, I would get a red goods marker, and these you can keep in your inventory. If I discard 2 different goods, I can get a crystal, which are these blue ones. Crystals are useful because you can use these to re-roll as many dice as you want. And you can discard as many times as you want to re-roll again and again as long as you have them. If you discard 3 different goods, you get to take a brown goods marker. This is a wild, basically. And if I discarded 4 different goods, I can take 2 goods markers of my choice, but they can't be brown. So I could be like, all right, I'm going to take a green and a blue. If you decide to discard your coin icons, you get 2 lira for each. So let's say I rolled 2 of these and discard them, I would get 4 lira, which are coins. Similarly, if I have card icons, like let's say I discard 2 card icons, I can draw 2 cards from this deck here, and then I get to choose one. Now I'll go into how these bazaar cards work later. Another action you can do is if you have the correct rolls, you can buy these mosque tiles. Now remember these goods markers I mentioned? These can be useful because these can be discarded in place of dice. But let's say I had 2 blue dice rolled and I'm going to spend a blue goods marker. If we go to the market here, there are a couple different tiles I could purchase. This one, every time you do the take lira action, you get to take a blue goods marker for free. This one lets you do an extra action on your turn, so 3 actions per turn. And this one gives you a crystal during your income phase at the start of every turn. This one, which I can't buy, would give you a card at the start of every turn. There are a bunch of different little ones in here. I'll show you the rest later. Finally, another action you can do is you can buy rubies, which are the object of the game. So there are different types of rubies here you can buy. For example, this one means you need to discard 4 blue, and then you can buy this ruby. Now the next number revealed shows the next price. If this was the next one shown, this one will be worth 5 blue goods. This sort of ribbon here of rubies, you have to spend 1 of each, and so the first one is gotten that way. Then the next one's going to be 1 of each, plus any good of your choice. And so these get more and more expensive as you go. So this ruby would be 1 of each and then 2 goods of your choice. These rubies down here, if you collect 4 mosque tiles, you get 1 of these rubies. And this is immediate. You don't have to do an action for that. And then finally, you can use lira, the coins, to buy rubies. So this first ruby will cost 10 lira. The This next one will cost 12 lira, and so on. So yeah, that's another action you can do, is just buy a ruby. As soon as any player has collected enough rubies, in a 4-player game that would be 5 rubies, you complete the current round, so everyone's taking an equal number of turns and end the game. Whoever has the most rubies wins. Now let's go through some of the other mosque tiles you can get. I showed you pretty much all of them, but here's an income tile. This gives you 3 lira at the start of each of your turns. And then here is a dice tile, which now you can roll an extra dice, 6 dice. And the more of those you have, the more dice you can roll, which is useful because once you roll these, you have to work with what you've got. So in this case, I could do, all right, I'm going to get the lira. And then with one of these, this isn't going to be too crazy, so I might draw a card instead. That could be the 2 actions for that turn. And finally, the bazaar cards, which I've mentioned throughout. How these work is the top effect is something that you will get. So in this case, the green little symbol here means you get a brown token, or a wild, and then everybody else gets a blue good. And so I'm not going to go through all these, but they all do different things. Like this one, you, the active player, get 4 lira. Everybody else has the option, if they discard a green good, to get 4 lira, and so on. So it makes you go, okay, I want to get this reward, but is it worth it to give everybody else a reward too? And there's a whole bunch of different ones like that, and all of them are described in the rulebook. But that's pretty much it. You roll your dice, you try to collect tiles and goods and trade them in for rubies or better tiles, and that's pretty much the entire game. So I really like the original game, Istanbul, and I was wondering how this one would stack up. This is a breezier, faster to learn and play game that I think keeps a lot of the spirit of what I like about Istanbul, but it's still very much its own experience, and it's a good one. The dice chucking is fun, and as you build your engine of little mosque cards that give you more passive incomes or bonuses or extra dice, you find yourself in a rush of satisfying upgrade heaven. The action system is really straightforward, with a very clear visual guide of what combos of dice and goods can do what. It's also always really clear from the board what you need to do to get more rubies. I'm pretty impressed with, like, you know, the iconography and the clarity of how it looks. The bazaar cards are where it can get a little fuzzy, but the rulebook has a full description of the cards along with all the symbols. One of my favorite parts about this game and the original game is that fierce race to get rubies. If you're not careful, people will snatch the rubies that you're working towards. And 6 rubies, or in a 4-player game, 5 rubies, can be really easy to grab in a shorter amount of time than you might think. This is a game where grabbing the upgrades and stuff is really fun, but if you lose sight of the most important part of the game, which is the rubies, you can easily forfeit your victory as another player just goes, oh, I can get bop, bop, done, and complete their 5. And that to me is very thrilling, that sort of, ooh, okay, even though I could get this, I need to get rubies and catch up. It's great. I really love this. As a dice game, it doesn't detract from the original. It adds its own thing, and I think it's thematically very similar and also just as fun. I highly recommend it if you want a top-notch, easy-to-learn dice chucker with lots of good strategy and options. I think this one's really fun.